Senior living facilities. This is a plot map. We'll talk about that, maps and stuff later. But senior living facilities, they're communities. And by the way, 55 plus, guys, 55 is the new 25. Let's get real. I mean, it truly is. I don't even know where the heck they ever came up with 55. I mean, I see guys that are 55 that are in better shape than I am. I mean, guys and gals. 55 is the new 25. There's no doubt. People have to dance and shaking it, having a great time. I mean, it's ridiculous. It should be now. It should be like, 95 plus. But all that tofu and crazy stuff people are eating, I guess, you know what I mean? All that soy. The thing about it is, when it comes to senior living facilities, it's a community of people that get together. Think about it. It's like luxury living. It's apartments for the elderly is what it is. I mean, think about it. You wake up, they cook for you, they clean for you, then they drive you wherever you want to go. People pay a huge premium for that. They do. And different communities, they're all over the place in Nevada. I mean, they're just everywhere in Nevada. And they're quiet communities. They truly are, okay? They're quiet, nice communities. Then we have mobile home parks, the least sexy. Who here likes mobile home parks? I know you do. You got a book sitting there. Mobile home parks, they are cash cows. Now, I talked about the land value, and most people are operating under the income, because we're going to talk about how we determine the value of these properties, right? We're going to go through each one just a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the food for thought now, and that's mobile home parks. Again, they're derived from the cap rate, which is the capitalization rate, and also the land value, as I said before. So a lot of times people are fixated on the value that's pulling in, and they forget about the land value as we turn it to a highest and best use. This is actually a good-looking park. Now, I'll tell you right now, down the street from one of my places out in Malibu, there's mobile home parks, and these little boxes in a place like Paradise Cove, they're like $2 million. $2 million. There's like rock stars living in these things.
Single wides?
No, these aren't single wides. These are port foundation, and these are actually manufactured homes, but it's still in a mobile home park is what it is. Guys, they're driving around in their little golf carts with their surfboards on top, and they're like, what's up, dude? I mean, they're mobile home parks, and these people are buying these things for like $2 million. I mean, and people own this, or what happens is, you said double wide. These are like the Airstreams and stuff like that. They come in for the mobile home parks, and what you can do is you can just scrape off those wobbly boxes. It only costs about $3 to $5 grand, if that, to even get rid of one of those things. And if they're in good condition, you can sell them. Okay, if they're in good condition, you can actually get rid of them. People will buy them. Now, in places like here in California, we have several mobile home parks. We have, just in Malibu alone, we have 3. Ask me how I know that. I'm trying to buy them. The value of these things, the people know. Can you believe it? Only here. I don't know what to say. The thing about it is, they're everywhere. They're all over the place. Mobile home parks are everywhere. They're a very hot property type. You can find them in the Carolinas, oceanfront. You can find them oceanfront in northern Cal. You can find them in Washington. And these parks are sitting there. They're hundreds of acres just sitting there in the path of progress. And they're behind gates. And there's a little toll booth that goes up and down. And then they go behind them, and there's like hundreds of acres right there. And it needs to be put to its highest and best use. In time, they'll do away with a lot of the mobile home parks. But there's tons of them all throughout Florida. Write that down. You can find them in Florida. And a lot of places across the interstates. So hot property types. I'm going to talk about this for one sec, guys, because we're transitioning into some finding and stuff. We've got a lot of things happening here. I'm loading you guys up with some great information, and I want to cover what's hot, because I know you guys are going to want to get out there and get deals done, right? Yes. Okay, so here we go. Hot property types. Here's some hot property types, real quick. RV parks without pads and with marinas. Okay? RV parks without pads. That's with and without pads, and marinas. Medical office buildings, the ones that are easy to convert over to condos, to put to a higher and best use. Again, medical facilities, don't discount them. I tell a story real quick about a time I was in Florida. And I told this story at one of my last talks. I'm going to share it with you because it's kind of funny. And you can laugh if you want. If you don't, I don't care. Driving down the highway, somebody's driving me in the car. And I'm driving down the highway, and I was kind of to myself. I was doing some stuff on my phone, and then I look up. I glanced up. I was in some place called like Coconut Grove or wherever the heck I was. Everything's coconuts out there. And I looked up, and what did I see? I saw this big, huge pink building, huge pink building, sitting with a big, huge sign on it, for sale, a banner with a telephone number. I wasn't doing anything. What do you think I did? I'm going to call on it. So I call. I said, hello. The gentleman said, hello, can I help you? Hey, I was calling on your building for sale. And he said, which one? And I said, the one with the big old sign hanging on the side of it. And he goes, oh, that building. I said, yeah. And he goes, how can I help you? Well, guys, I learned a long time ago, being a master negotiator that I am, and you know, right, exactly. Quite modest, right? What I do is I gauge people right off the bat. It's all about the psychology behind the way people answer, the way people are confident, the way people are not confident. If a broker, first question usually out of a broker's mouth, I don't want to get too much into negotiation on the story, but one of the first things out of a broker's mouth is, are you a broker? Are you a broker? I don't want to share my commission with you. Are you a broker? And the first thing out of my mouth is, look, I'm not a broker. And if I know I'm speaking with a broker, I'll say, look, I'm not a broker. I'm a principal. You're the only broker in the deal. Then they're like, okay, how can I help you? Which property are you calling on? Okay? I get it. I know why they call. And you're a broker, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Okay. So when I was on the phone with this gentleman, he was very short with me. He didn't want to give me too much information. He was button-lipped. So what I did is I memorized all my questions on the property information sheet, and you will too, all right? And your brokers will know these questions. You'll be able to just fire them off. So right away I asked, well, how long does the owner own the property for? That was my first question. I said, how long does the owner own the property for? He said, why do you need to know that? I'm talking to the owner. I knew it. And I said, we went through and engaged in a little bit more conversation. It turns out, I just asked him straight out. I said, look, I'm not even sure if I'm even interested in this, but I'll tell you right now, I work with a large investment group, and I'm just a front guy, and I'm just trying to get some information. And the reason why I played that card on him was because I didn't feel like getting grilled like an onion. So right off the bat, it was a resort to a higher authority approach, and he knew that he was talking to the wrong person. But he knew that I was in a position and that I was coming across confident, and I just asked him the questions nonchalant, and he knew right off the bat, he knew that it was either going to be a pass or play for me by the information that I gathered from him on that call. And I finally asked him, after we got through, it turned out that he had purchased it on a 1031 tax-deferred exchange, meaning that he had capital gains from one property that he made a bunch of money on, and then quickly had to recognize another property, went to an auction, and purchased a vacant building that used to be assisted living. Put all of his money into it. Then he didn't have the right exit strategy to get the thing filled. It happens all too often because people don't have clear exit strategy. That's why we need the exit strategy in place when we're talking to our financiers and we see the package. They're like, I need to see the package, the bullet points of what the exit strategy is, what's going on. These people that are out there, conventional investors, they just rush into a fire. They don't understand a lot of times. They don't keep their emotions in check. And he had a dated appraisal on the property of the future value, and he bought it under the future value. And I asked him, what's the thing worth? Oh, about 9.5. Oh, really? What'd you buy it for? About 9.5. Okay. So what's it really worth? Oh, 4, maybe 3.5. I said, you're the owner, aren't you? Yeah, I'm the owner. Okay, great. You got any other property for sale? Right? And I asked him, I said, would you consider a joint venture? He said, yeah, I would. I'd consider a joint venture. I said, okay. I said, well, let me ask you a question then. And then I figured, what about if you just gave me the property for free? Right? It's basically what I thought in my head. And I'm like, so let me ask you a question. Why haven't you done anything with it? Because that's the same thing that I would do if you were to give it to me. If you just deeded it to me and handed it to me free of charge, just give me a $9 million property. Now what the hell am I going to do with it? Big vacant building right in the middle of coconut something or other. What are we going to do with it? How much capital does it cost to get that thing operational? What are the numbers at the end of the day? What kind of hoops do we have to jump through to make sure that there's bed licenses in each and every one of those units? And this thing was hundreds of units. This was a monster building. I mean, it was almost like it needed to be converted to another use, but the area didn't support it. The area supported assisted living, but this assisted living that he purchased, it happened to go out. It was just done in that area. So a property like this is jumping through fiery hoops. Are we jumping through fiery hoops? Are we doing deals with speed and ease? Speed and ease. So even if they were to give me that property, I kept my emotions in check. I got off the phone with the guy, and I was not interested. And the call took about 4 minutes. Lisa was in the back seat. She'll vouch for it. Right? Right, she says. She loves when I'm on the phone when she just sits in the car and I go, shh, it might be a good deal. Shh. So how long have you owned it for? All right. I love calling on deals, guys. We're going to get to it a little later. So that's one. So in other words, what I'm getting to is that big empty buildings, even if you were to just get them free, what are you going to do with them? Okay? Make sure the exit strategies are in place. Nursing assisted living, that's exactly what that was. Senior living facilities. Now, with land is something very, 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 very important. We're going to talk about that in the finding session. It's in your pre-screening sheet. Again, your pre-screening sheet, part of your quick start. And one of the questions I always ask is, what other property do you own? Now, if somebody owns a portfolio of property, let's say they own 3 or 4 properties, okay? Let's say they own 3 or 4 properties. What are they going to sell, the good stuff? Or are they going to try to schlep the junk first? The junk. So then if you ask them, well, what else do you got? All right? Maybe something else will pop up, and it happens all the time, okay? Happens all the time. We're going to do that. We're going to find out when we talk to these people if they do have any other property. But one very powerful thing is, does the property come with any additional land? Because sometimes you're looking at an apartment, and that apartment could have 100 acres on the back side that they just didn't mention. And then that 100 acres could be worth so much money where you just sell off a small portion of that land and pay for that apartment building and own the whole thing free and clear. Does that excite anybody? Yeah. Guys, these deals are out there, and these properties that come with land in places like Texas, there's tons of land that comes with properties. On the average, it's like a couple acres. Sometimes there's more, okay? Always ask. You don't know what you don't know, just like the lender said. By the way, he got that for me. Okay. Hotels for condo conversions, okay? And expensive areas with condo shortage. Now, don't cringe about condos. I'll tell you right now, the crane is in the sky right now. There's money crane. Who's been to Vegas lately? Raise your hand. You guys seen cranes in the sky? Yes or no? Yes, absolutely. They're in the guys. Wynn just finished with his second building. Trump has already broke foundation. He's already building his second tower. They each are going to have 2 towers. They're in competition. All right, because this business is just where it's at, and you don't have to go build humongous buildings. And for the record, most of these guys that own these big buildings, that are building these big buildings, have money partners. And you know what? They don't even own the land underneath it. Trump's buildings in New York, he doesn't own the land underneath them. They're on land leases, folks. They're on land leases, meaning the people that own the land will always own the land, always keep the land, because land in Manhattan, New York, per square foot is off the chart. And they've always known it. They always have. The old Vanderbilt building. I was just sitting in the plaza about, 3-4 weeks ago, and they had a huge painting on the wall. Lisa and I were sitting there. And this huge painting on the wall, and I looked. By the way, I love art. And I looked at it, and I said, oh, my gosh, what the heck is that on the painting? And he said, oh, in 1970, this was behind the bar, the painting. He said, in 1970, somebody got upset at the bartender, threw a drink at him. And I said, how much is this painting worth? He goes, that one's $12 million, and that one over there is about $20 million. I said, really? And I looked at the pictures of them, and I said, wait a minute. I said, this is the front of the plaza, and this is a before, and that's an after. He goes, you got it. And I said, this before picture, what mansion is that? He says, that was the Vanderbilt mansion. They sold their property, their land, right in front of the plaza in New York. They sold that whole tract right there, right across from the park, right on Central Park South. They sold that whole tract right there a long time ago for an exchange for a couple units in the plaza. And they still own them to this day. Executive units, awesome units. And now that land has a humongous water fountain in front of it, and that was the second picture. So they did a before and an after picture. But what I'm getting to, guys, is land value, dollar per square foot, is just off the chart. So because of the value of land, people will do something called a build to suit. Write that down. Build to suit, just like it sounds. B-U-I-L-D to S-U-I-T. Build to suit. And build to suit means that they're going to build it to suit your needs. And then what you do is you go ahead and lease the land to them to build it. We're going to talk about out parcels on land, on how you can create income, because this is cash flow. So when I talk about cash flow, it's all about building those out parcels, okay? Now, oceanfront mobile home parks and RV parks. Who's going to be interested in this, by the way, all these oceanfront mobiles? Absolutely, guys. And remember, it's all about the cash flow. I'm going to share something with you guys. You got to keep this one under your hat. So cross your fingers. Say, I swear. Pinky swear. All right. Keep this one hush hush. Here we go. Anybody know what that is? Let me dim the lights real quick for you folks. Can I get an ooh, ah? Yeah, check that out. Now this right here, guys, this was a helicopter shot. I was driving right here on this road. And we stopped about right here, and I ran out here, and I danced around a little bit right here and looked around. And you got to see this right here. This right here is a hotel. Okay? That's a hotel. All this right here is all oceanfront. Oceanfront. Now these are not mobiles. This is an RV park. See all the white little plugs? Each white plug is a utility plug, meaning utilities are to site. Now, with RV parks, they got the weekend warriors. Anybody here a weekend warrior? Hey, nothing to be ashamed about. Those RVs, those things are expensive, man. We're talking a couple $100,000 for some of those things. I mean, they got like flat screen TVs that come out, like, you know, Transformers and stuff. I mean, they're great. And the people sit there, they party, they have a tailgate party, they hang out. That's what these people are doing. They're hanging out, playing on the beach, having fun. They pay to be there and they leave. All this back here, guys, is all mobile home. All of it, all the way mobile home. So you got RV and mobile home. Now, if you look down this way, they did a billion with a B, $1 billion revitalization project in this area. Right down the way. You could hit a golf ball to it. Me, I hit a golf ball this way, it'll go in the water. But you can hit a golf ball to it. I tell people that I golf in the 70s, and they're like, really? I go, yeah, right on 18 holes, I golf in the 70s. They're like, that's fabulous. I go, yeah. When it gets about 75, 76, it's a little too warm, I go in for a drink. I'm not a good golfer, although I got a hole-in-one on a 72 par pitch and putt. So I guess I'm classified as one of the few that have ever got a hole-in-one. So I tell people, yeah, I got a hole-in-one. I just don't tell them it's a pitch and putt. That's right, pitch and putt. Rancho, that's it. Okay, so guys, don't you think this can be put to its highest and best use? Absolutely it can. Here's the overview. This is an overview picture. You can see right here, look at how big this project is, and it's just ripe and ready to go. All right, ripe and ready to go. How are we doing on time? Okay, beautiful. All right. So because we covered this bit of information, I want to go ahead and focus on one last piece here. Then we're going to break. Determining value really quick, guys. This is a very important equation to what we're doing here. You guys loving this stuff or what? Yes. All right. Now look, here's a list of property types and how the value is appraised. It all comes down to knowing how the value is appraised. The appraised value is going to tell us what it's appraised as is, where is, and then what else? Future value. You guys follow? As is, future value. That's why when we get an appraisal, the appraisal is going to be two-part. As is, future value. As is, future value. Okay. Now here we go. Raw land is comparable sales in the comps. Now, it's relatively easy to get comps when it comes to raw land. And the reason why I say that is because whatever the type of zoning it is, if it's agricultural and you're looking at 300 acres ag, right? You don't need to go find another tract that's 300 acres ag. What you need to do is just find what the dollar amount is, right? The dollar amount per acre. And then what we do is we just compare acre to acre. There are some additional factors that come into play for land when you're doing comparables. And what that would be is one have road frontage, does one not? Okay, how much road frontage does one have compared to the other? You got to factor that in. Are utilities to site? Okay, utilities to site are very important. That'll play a big role. Okay, and it has to be apples to apples on comparables. Commercial to commercial, industrial to industrial, residential to residential, special use to special use, meaning golf courses, etc. Apartment buildings come down to the cap rate. Okay, that's the capitalization rate. All right, it's the cap rate. Next is office buildings. Now that's going to be derived from the cap rate and also square foot comps. All right, who here has rented an office building before? Okay, then you know as well as I do, because I have as well, many times. It's all done by the square foot. It's all done by the square foot. And when we come to retail centers, that's the cap rate and square foot comps as well. Now, per square foot, it just depends. But you got to make sure that you're looking apples to apples. In the comps, as far as looking for apartment buildings, it's going to be difficult to find something that's income producing, because the income producing, the NOI, divided by the purchase price equals the cap rate, which we're going to digest cap rate a little bit later. But if you're looking at a 220 unit apartment, you want to make sure that you're looking at something as close to the 220 unit apartment as you possibly can, and it all comes down to the numbers. But again, the cap rate, guys, is very important when we sell, but not as important when we buy, unless you're buying retail. We're not buying retail, we're buying, you got it, okay. So mobile home parks and RV parks, as I told you, that's the cap rate and land comps. And I can't express to you enough that last project that we just looked at together as a class, that value that they were asking for that property is way under what it's actually worth. Not going to tell you. Not going to tell you. Forget about it. The thing about it is, guys, you'll find your deals. Don't worry. You don't need that deal. You're going to get better deals than that. The low-hanging fruit. Don't worry about it. The thing of it is, I want to do deals with you guys, and that's what we're here for. So remember my motto. We want to be rich.